Missions Pulse. Know God's heart, join his mission.
Let me jump right in real quick to your book, because this one just came out. How many books have you written, by the way, Ryan?
It's over 12 now, including Bible studies.
Okay.
So yeah, good number.
Wow. Very cool. I need some catching up to do. I need to cancel this podcast and focus on writing, I guess. I'll release this episode and then we'll see.
There you go.
But no, I am really interested to hear more about this book. I do have it. Rethinkingmobilization.com is the website people could go to learn more about it. But you've just recently published Rethinking Global Mobilization. What motivated you to write this book?
That's a great question. So I remember when I was in seminary, sitting in a missions history course and learning about the student volunteer movement. And so some of the listeners would have heard about the student volunteer movement, SVM for short. And in fact, GMMI, the ministry that I'm with now, before we actually had the name Student Volunteer Movement number 2. And then we've evolved that a little bit and changed it to be GMMI, Global Mission Mobilization Initiative. But I'm sitting in this course with a renowned mission historian, Dr. Paul Pearson, and he starts talking about the catchphrase of the student volunteer movement. This statement that they had that encapsulated their vision. They taught this phrase, they prayed this phrase, they studied it in the Bible, and the phrase was the evangelization of the world in this generation. The evangelization of the world in this generation. And then there's been, as I got out of that class, so that kind of stuck with me, that phrase. But then as a year or two later, I started to hear more of an updated version. So that was kind of in history, the student volunteer movement, late 1800s into the early 1900s. But I started to hear an updated version that said the fulfillment of the Great Commission in this generation. So, some of that terminology, the evangelization of the world, it's old school. So just kind of updating, but the same spirit, the fulfillment of the Great Commission in this generation. And that phrase, really meditating on it, thinking a lot about it, praying about it, talking to a lot of different leaders and friends about that phrase, that's when I began to understand, how's it going to be accomplished? Yeah. And I began to discern kind of the key to unlocking this reality, the fulfillment of the Great Commission in this generation. The key really seemed to be in mobilizing the body of Christ and seeing her equipped for this great task. So right now, we tend to understand missions as kind of a few professionals that do something on the other side of the world, kind of a thing. And I began to see, well, there's more to it than that. And there has to be more to it than that, or else we would have already accomplished it. And I began to grasp that this mobilization piece, or I like to use the word key, it's a key that can open the door if we understand that word correctly, mission mobilization. And so that's a major kind of backing of what this book is all about, looking deeply into the book or into that phrase, mission mobilization, and what it means. A second motivation, I would say, was I've been involved in mission mobilization now for about 20 years, and I really began to look for books on the subject. Okay, not books used to mobilize people. There's a ton of those kind of books out there that the result or the hoped for result is that people would be mobilized. There's biographies, there's just kind of exciting adventure stories about what God is doing around the world. And there's a little bit about what missions ministry or what's involved in different aspects of missions ministry, but hardly anything I found kind of either defining or giving an overview of what mission mobilization is. Yeah. Okay, what God intends it to be. And so almost like a theology of mobilization. That's kind of what I was looking for, and I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. I asked lots of friends involved in mobilization work. I said, we need a book, you guys. Do you have one in mind that I can get? And no one had anything in mind or that they knew about. And so I saw a hole there. There was a real void in terms of laying out a biblical missiology of mobilization, which is what this book, in essence, is all about.
Yeah.
Laying from a scriptural, biblical perspective what mission mobilization is. And I think you'll find that, I certainly have, that it's a lot bigger than we usually think, or that we usually give credence to. So yeah, that's part of the motivation.
Awesome.
Missions Pulse. Know God's heart, join his mission. This podcast is powered by Within Reach Global. Subscribe, watch, and listen on YouTube today. Visit missionspulse.com.